ancient wood of the cabin creaked a mournful, rhythmic sigh beneath your worn boots, a sound as familiar and comforting as your own heartbeat. Dust motes, like tiny, sun-drenched galaxies, danced in the shafts of light that pierced the grimy window panes, illuminating the forgotten corners of what had once been the vibrant heart of your family's summer holidays. Now, it felt like a mausoleum of memories, each one a whisper from the past, echoing the very essence of Oakhaven. You traced the rough grain of an old pine beam with your fingertips, feeling the ghost of countless hands that had touched it before you, generations of chronometer-keepers and their kin. Outside, the air hummed with an unusual tension. The whispering winds of Oakhaven, usually a gentle murmur through the ancient oaks surrounding the secluded lakeside cabin, were growing restless, a low, guttural growl that promised more than just a change in weather. This year, the annual family gathering felt less like a reunion and more like a desperate last stand. Your goal, a burden you willingly shouldered, was to reunite the family, to heal the old rifts that had splintered your lineage over decades, scars passed down like unwanted heirlooms. But the folklore, which suggested the winds carried secrets from generations past, now felt less like a quaint tale and more like a looming prophecy. If those secrets were of conflict and division, how could you ever hope to mend what was broken when the very air conspired against you? A familiar, satisfying weight settled into your palm as your fingers closed around the antique key. It was cool, heavier than it looked, made of tarnished brass, intricately filigreed with the interlocking gears and delicate springs that defined your family's legacy. This key wasn't merely a tool, it was a symbol, a tangible link to the Clockwork Cryptogram, a testament to the Chronometer-Keepers' sworn duty. You turned it over, feeling the subtle imperfections, the nicks and worn edges that bespoke its age and constant use. Its significance hummed beneath your skin, a silent promise of tradition, a path you had once, in a moment of rebellious youth, considered abandoning. But now, clutching it, a sense of belonging, profound and unwavering, settled deep within your bones. You really think it's still here, after all these years? Milo Brookshan's voice, light and inquisitive, broke the reverie. He stood framed in the doorway, a slender figure with eyes that sparkled with perpetual curiosity, mirroring your own. Milo, your curiosity companion, had been drawn to the Chronometer-Keepers' lore since you were both knee-high, spending countless hours poring over dusty ledgers and cryptic diagrams. He was, by all accounts, the tide tamer's apprentice, though what tides he truly tamed remained a delightful mystery. His goal was as pure as the lake water outside, to ensure the moonpetal blooms, a rare aquatic flower that only blossomed under specific cosmic alignments, flourished once more. He believed the blooms were intrinsically linked to the chronometer's proper function, their delicate life cycle a direct reflection of its temporal harmony. "It has to be," you replied, the words feeling heavy on your tongue, laden with ancestral expectation. Grandfather always said the cabin was where the chronometer's true heart resided, not just its physical components. And the missing piece, It's always been a legend, a riddle, until now. The now was the crucial part. The whispering winds weren't just agitated, they were actively disrupting the natural order. The lake, usually a placid mirror of the sky, now churned with unnatural currents. The moonpetal blooms, usually dormant this time of year, were showing signs of distress, their delicate petals wilting prematurely, their phosphorescent glow dimming. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong, and the family gathering, meant to be a moment of reconciliation, was descending into chaos even before the arrival of the full cohort. Your aunt had just called, her voice strained, reporting strange atmospheric pressures pushing her plane off course. Cousin Alara, always punctual, was hours late, blaming inexplicable electromagnetic interference in her antique car. The unexpected natural event wasn't merely threatening the gathering, it was sabotaging it. You and Milo moved deeper into the cabin's main room, a space filled with the ghosts of laughter and hushed secrets. An old stone fireplace dominated one wall, its hearth choked with cold ashes. Above it, a mantelpiece displayed an array of forgotten artifacts, a chipped ceramic bird, a faded photograph of your great-grandparents, and prominently, a brass plate engraved with the family crest, a stylized clock face entwined with oak leaves. This was where the clockwork chronometer, in its complete form, was said to reside. But it hadn't been whole in generations. The missing piece, the fabled heart of Evam, had been lost to time, a casualty of the very rifts you sought to heal. The winds outside picked up, rattling the windows, mimicking a frustrated groan. A shiver traced your spine, not from cold, but from a deeper unease. This year, the family's old rival, the Glimmerwing clan, had also chosen Oakhaven for their gathering. Nerida Glimmerwing, in particular, had arrived with an intensity that could rival the brewing storm. You first saw her by the lakeshore, a figure silhouetted against the tumultuous water, her vibrant crimson cloak flapping like a battle standard in the strengthening wind. Nerida Glimmerwing, the aspiring canyon crafter. Her goal, openly declared, was to find the lost map to the Whispering Falls, a legendary series of cascades hidden deep within the surrounding mountains, and share its supposed beauty with everyone. On the surface, it seemed a reasonable, even noble, ambition. But your families had been entwined, and often at odds, for centuries. The Chronometer-Keepers, your lineage, were tasked with maintaining temporal and environmental balance, a duty often requiring secrecy and careful stewardship. The canyon crafters, the Glimmerwings, were known for their audacious exploration and their belief that natural wonders should be unveiled and appreciated by all, a philosophy that often clashed with the Chronometer-Keepers' protective instincts. The moment your eyes met across the churning expanse of the lake, a palpable current of animosity crackled between you. Her gaze, sharp and assessing, seemed to pierce right through your historical reverence, seeing only an impediment. Still clinging to your dusty old gears, I see, she'd called out, her voice cutting through the wind with surprising clarity. While the world awaits discovery, you hide in the shadows. And you, Nerida, you'd retorted, a familiar sting of defensiveness rising, still convinced that every secret needs to be broadcast to the highest bidder. That was the core misunderstanding, the deep chasm that separated your two families. You believed in the sacred trust of guardianship, in the delicate balance that required careful, sometimes hidden, intervention. She believed in the liberating power of revelation, in sharing the world's wonders freely, regardless of the potential consequences. For generations, your ancestors had subtly protected the deeper mysteries of Oakhaven, while hers had tirelessly sought to expose them. Her pursuit of the Whispering Falls map wasn't just about sharing beauty. It was, to you, a threat to the very stability the chronometer upheld. What if the falls were not just beautiful, but also a nexus of elemental power, too volatile for casual exposure? And what if the missing piece of the clockwork chronometer was the only thing that could keep that power in check? The escalating natural event only exacerbated this tension. The whispering winds were now howling, a furious gale ripping through the valley, stripping leaves from trees, whipping the lake into a frenzy of whitecaps. Rain began to lash against the cabin, a relentless drumming that threatened to drown out all other sounds. The family gathering, already precarious, was now effectively trapped, unable to leave, and with the storm disrupting all forms of communication, unable to call for help. The moonpetal blooms are worsening, Milo reported, his voice tinged with genuine distress, returning from a futile attempt to tend to the lake's delicate ecosystem. His usually bright eyes were clouded with worry. They're almost gone, and without the chronometer, I don't know what we can do. You nodded, a knot tightening in your stomach. The chronometer wasn't just a time-telling device. It was a cosmic regulator, believed to harmonize the very currents of time, weather, and the subtle energies that sustained Oakhaven's unique flora and fauna. The missing piece, the heart of Evam, was thought to be its primary governor, the part that translated the ancient cryptograms into tangible influence over the world. Without it, the chronometer was incomplete, a magnificent, silent husk. We need to find it, Milo, you said, determination hardening your resolve. And we need to decipher the cryptogram that accompanies it. Only then can we hope to restore balance, save the blooms, and avert whatever catastrophe these winds are heralding. Your search began in earnest. The cabin, a repository of family history, became a labyrinth of clues. You combed through dusty attics filled with forgotten trunks, explored damp cellars echoing with the drip of unseen water, and meticulously examined every nook and cranny of the main living spaces. Every object, every faded letter, every cryptic inscription on an old piece of furniture felt like a potential clue. Milo, with his keen eye for natural patterns and his quiet dedication, proved an invaluable partner. He saw connections you missed, noticed subtle shifts in air currents, or the behavior of small creatures that hinted at hidden passages or overlooked details. Days bled into a blur of frantic searching, the relentless storm outside mirroring the growing anxiety within. The family, now fully gathered and trapped, bumbled about, their rivalries and resentments simmering beneath forced pleasantries. Arguments flared over resources, over who should be in charge, over the very meaning of the Chronometer-Keepers' legacy. Your goal of healing old rifts felt more distant than ever. Instead, the storm seemed to magnify every existing crack. You were deep in the musty, cedar-scented study, a room where your ancestors had penned their most profound thoughts when the setback occurred. The cryptogram legacy wasn't merely a set of historical documents. It was a complex web of interwoven clues, some passed down orally, some written in code, some even hidden within seemingly innocuous family traditions. One of the most crucial elements was the ritual feast of celestial alignment, a generations-old family recipe. It wasn't just food, it was a symbolic meal, its ingredients and preparation methods a cryptogram in themselves, believed to hold a key to unlocking the chronometer's secrets. "Have you seen the feast scroll, Milo?" you asked, rifling through a stack of ancient cookbooks, a growing sense of dread coiling in your gut. "The one with the diagram of the star chart for the moonpetal bloom alignment." Milo looked up from an old telescope he was cleaning, his brow furrowed. "I thought you had it. You had it yesterday when you were comparing it to the old star maps in the library." A cold wave washed over you. Yesterday. Yes, you remembered it, a brittle parchment, its edges singed, its ink faded, but still legible. You had been comparing its celestial calculations with a rare astronomical text, trying to pinpoint the exact moment of cosmic convergence. You had been so absorbed, so focused on the mathematical complexity. Panic began to set in, a slow, icy crawl up your throat. Your flaw, your curse, had struck again. You occasionally misplaced important items due to disorganization. In the flurry of research, the constant shift between different rooms, the sheer volume of information, you had lost it. The crucial family recipe, the cryptogram legacy, misplaced just before it was needed. The family gathering, already strained, required this feast as a symbol of unity, a focal point for reconciliation. Without it, the entire endeavor felt doomed. You tore through the study, then the dining room, then the kitchen, a whirlwind of frantic desperation. Bookshelves were emptied, cupboards flung open, drawers overturned. Your hands trembled, your heart hammered against your ribs. The storm outside seemed to mock your internal turmoil, its howls rising to a crescendo. The fear wasn't just for the recipe itself, but for what its loss represented. Your failure, your inherent inability to maintain the order your lineage demanded. How could you ever hope to heal ancient rifts when you couldn't even keep track of a single, vital scroll? "It's gone," you whispered, the words ragged, tasting of defeat. You slumped against a heavy oak table, head in hands, the weight of generations pressing down on you. "It's truly gone. We can't have the feast without it. And if we can't have the feast, the family, they'll never unite. They'll just descend further into argument." Milo, ever the quiet pillar of support, placed a comforting hand on your shoulder. "It's all right. We'll find it. We'll retrace your steps. Think, where were you last? But the disorganization wasn't just about losing an item. It was about the process of losing it, the chaotic mental landscape that allowed it to slip away. You had been in the attic, then the study, then out by the lake to check on the blooms, then back to the kitchen for a moment of desperate hunger. Then it was all a blur. The consequences were immediate and devastating. The storm showed no signs of abating, and the family, hungry and restless, grew increasingly agitated. News of the missing recipe spread like wildfire, fueling the existing tensions. Your aunt, a stickler for tradition, viewed it as an unforgivable slight. Your cousins, always quick to criticize, saw it as proof of your inadequacy as a chronometer-keeper. The rifts didn't just resurface, they became gaping chasms, threatening to swallow the entire family whole. Your own self-confidence, already fragile under the immense pressure, shattered. You were not worthy. You were not capable. The chronometer, the family, Oakhaven itself, it was all doomed because of your fundamental flaw. It was during this low ebb, this nadir of self-doubt, that the unexpected moment of kindness occurred. You were sitting on the cabin's porch, the relentless rain soaking through your clothes, watching the furious lake. Your head was throbbing, your eyes burned from lack of sleep. You felt utterly defeated. A shadow fell over you. You looked up to see Nerida Glimmerwing, her crimson cloak now sodden and plastered to her frame, her usually defiant expression softened by something akin to concern. She didn't offer a mocking word, didn't gloat over your obvious distress. Instead, she simply sat beside you on the damp wooden bench, the space between you crackling with their usual unspoken rivalry, yet imbued with a strange, temporary truce. Lost something important, have we, Chronometer-Keeper? She asked, her voice surprisingly gentle, devoid of its usual sharp edge. I overheard the whispers, the feast scroll. You simply nodded, unable to articulate the depth of your despair. She paused, gazing out at the tumultuous lake, her eyes reflecting the gray, angry sky. My family, we have our own legends of lost things. Maps, artifacts, knowledge. It's a heavy burden, isn't it? Knowing something vital exists, but it's just out of reach. She picked up a small, unusually shaped pebble from the porch floor, turning it over in her fingers. Sometimes, the thing you're looking for isn't where you expect it. Sometimes, it's right under your nose, but you're too focused on the obvious. She glanced at you, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Or sometimes, you're looking for one thing, but it's part of a larger story. She then stood, her moment of unexpected empathy seemingly concluded, and without another word, she walked back into the raging storm, disappearing into the mist-shrouded trees. Her words, though cryptic, echoed in your mind. Right under your nose, part of a larger story. It wasn't a solution, but it was an acknowledgement, a brief, fragile connection with your supposed adversary. It made you question everything you thought you knew about Nerida, about her motivations, about the rigid lines of rivalry drawn between your families. Perhaps her desire to share the Whispering Falls wasn't entirely about glory or recklessness, but about a different kind of guardianship, a different way of appreciating the world's hidden wonders. The encounter, brief and unexpected, ignited a spark of hope, a sliver of renewed determination. You couldn't give up. The stakes were no longer just about a family gathering or a family heirloom. The escalating natural event, the worsening condition of the moon petal blooms, the sheer intensity of the whispering winds. It was clear now that the fate of the world itself was at risk. The chronometer wasn't just a local regulator, it was a linchpin, its function vital for maintaining the delicate cosmic and temporal balance across the globe. The Whispering Falls, which Nerida sought to uncover, were, according to ancient Chronometer-Keeper texts, a conduit of raw, untamed elemental power. If the falls were disrupted, if their energy was unleashed without the chronometer's stabilizing influence, the consequences could be cataclysmic. Widespread weather anomalies, temporal distortions, ecological collapse. Nerida's seemingly reasonable goal of sharing the fall's beauty without the context of the chronometer's balancing act could inadvertently trigger global chaos. Your family's protective secrecy suddenly felt less like hoarding and more like a desperate attempt to prevent an apocalypse. "She's looking for the map in the old Glimmerwing cairn," Milo announced, bursting back onto the porch, his eyes wide with a fresh discovery. He clutched a tattered, ancient leather journal. "I found this in the attic, hidden in a loose floorboard. It's a Glimmerwing family diary, written by one of Nerida's ancestors. It speaks of a lumenstone at the heart of the cairn, a glowing rock, said to reveal the path to the falls when exposed to the proper celestial light." "A lumenstone and the moon petal blooms," you murmured, a jolt of realization hitting you. "The blooms only flourish under specific cosmic alignments. What if the recipe, the feast scroll, isn't just a recipe, but a celestial chart itself? A way to pinpoint that exact alignment, not just for the feast, but for the lumenstone." This new lead, combined with Nerida's cryptic advice, propelled you both forward. You needed to find the recipe, not just for the feast, but for the chronometer and perhaps for the world. You retraced your steps, not just physically, but mentally, trying to reconstruct your chaotic movements. Nerida's words, right under your nose, but you're too focused on the obvious, part of a larger story. You remembered the old, unused shed out back, filled with rusted tools and forgotten gardening implements. You had gone there to retrieve a trowel, thinking you might be able to transplant some of the failing moon petal blooms to a more protected spot. You hadn't found the trowel, of course, lost in the clutter, but you remembered setting down a stack of papers to open the creaky, stuck door. A surge of adrenaline coursed through you. You dashed through the driving rain, Milo hot on your heels, to the shed. The air inside was thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying wood. You moved directly to the workbench, a surface usually buried under years of accumulated junk. There, tucked beneath a forgotten clay pot and a pile of brittle, dead leaves, was the scroll. It was slightly damp, but miraculously intact. As you unfurled it, the intricate diagrams of celestial bodies and arcane symbols intertwined with the recipe's ingredients leaped out. It was indeed more than a recipe. It was a complex cryptogram, detailing not only the proportions of rare herbs and spices, but also the precise celestial coordinates for their preparation, a temporal map of the heavens. It clearly outlined the exact alignment needed to activate something, not just a lumen stone, but something grander. The final lines of the cryptogram, faded but discernible, read, "When the twin constellations kiss the horizon's tear, and the moon petal offers its truth, only then shall the heart of Evam awaken its destined course." The twin constellations, that's what the Glimmerwings call the specific alignment that activates the lumen stone. Milo exclaimed, pointing at a star chart in his journal. And the horizon's tear is the whispering falls. And the moon petal, it's not just the bloom itself, it's the light it casts at that specific alignment, you realized, the pieces clicking into place. The heart of Evam, the missing piece of the clockwork chronometer. The storm outside intensified, a symphony of destruction. You knew, with a chilling certainty, that the time was now. The cosmic alignment described in the scroll was imminent, triggered by the very instability the missing chronometer piece had caused. The path was clear, albeit fraught with peril. The climax was upon you. You and Milo raced through the forest, the rain-soaked earth squelching beneath your boots, the wind tearing at your clothes. The Glimmerwing cairn, a massive pile of rough-hewn stones, was nestled deep in a grotto, its entrance obscured by cascading water from the storm-swollen creeks. As you approached, a faint, rhythmic pulsing of light emanated from within. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient magic. Nerida Glimmerwing stood at the center of the cairn, bathed in the ethereal glow of a massive, crystalline rock, the lumen stone. She held a tattered map in her hands, her face a mixture of triumph and fierce concentration. Around her, members of the Glimmerwing family meticulously etched symbols into the stone floor, preparing for a ritual of their own. "Nerida," you shouted, your voice echoing in the confined space. "You have to stop. You don't understand the power you're unleashing." She turned, her eyes blazing, not with malice, but with a frustrated determination. "I understand perfectly, Chronometer-Keeper. This map, revealed by the lumen stone, will show the way to the Whispering Falls. It will open them up for the world to see, to share their majesty. Your family has hoarded these wonders for too long. And for good reason," you retorted, striding forward, clutching the feast scroll. "The falls are not just a spectacle. They are a conduit for elemental energies that must be regulated by the clockwork chronometer. Without the heart of Evam, without the chronometer's full power, exposing the falls will unleash chaos. Look outside, Nerida. This storm, the dying blooms, it's already happening." "Lies," she spat, her voice ringing with conviction. "Your family's tales are just excuses to maintain your secretive power. This is about freedom, about revelation." This was it. The final confrontation. Not just a physical fight, but a clash of ideals, centuries in the making. Your family's sacred trust versus her family's pursuit of open discovery. The missing piece of the clockwork chronometer, the heart of Evam, was the focal point. The cryptogram on the scroll confirmed that the lumen stone was not just a map revealer, but also a beacon for the heart of Evum itself, guiding it back to its rightful place. But activating it required the precise celestial alignment. Just then, a blinding flash of light erupted from the lumen stone, a powerful surge that threw you and Milo backward. The ground trembled violently. The air crackled with raw energy. The storm outside roared in response, a deafening crescendo of thunder and wind. Through the opening in the cairn's roof, a sliver of the night sky was visible, and you saw it, the twin constellations, perfectly aligned, casting their ethereal glow directly onto the lumen stone. And illuminated by their light, a faint, almost invisible, shimmering object materialized in the air above the lumen stone. It was small, no larger than your thumb, made of an unknown iridescent metal, intricately geared and humming with latent power. The missing piece, the heart of Evum. Nerida, her eyes wide with awe, reached for it, her hand trembling. "It's real," she whispered. "The heart of Evum, it's drawn to the falls. It's part of the falls' power." "No, Nerida, it regulates the falls," you cried, scrambling to your feet. "If you take it, if you touch it without understanding its true purpose, it will only accelerate the instability." She ignored you, her gaze fixed on the shimmering object. Her hand reached closer, closer. "The cryptogram," Milo yelled, pointing frantically at the scroll in your hand. "It's activating. The symbols are glowing." You looked down. The faded ink of the feast scroll was indeed coming to life, the arcane symbols pulsing with a soft, internal light, their meaning suddenly undeniable. The final lines of the cryptogram, describing how to properly receive the heart of Evum, were now brilliantly clear. But it wasn't just ancient Chronometer-Keeper script. It was something else. A script you knew, a language you had thought long forgotten. Your secret, your youthful rebellion, suddenly surged to the forefront. Years ago, weary of the family's rigid traditions, the endless study of gears and temporal equations, you had yearned for something different. You had secretly immersed yourself in the study of obscure languages and ancient cultures, particularly the almost lost dialects of the forgotten desert tribes, the dusk weavers, who believed in the interconnectedness of time and space, but through narrative and poetry, not clockwork. Their language, a complex weave of symbols and sounds, was rarely encountered outside of ancient, dusty texts. You had dismissed it as a youthful folly, a wasteful deviation from your prescribed path. But now, the glowing symbols on the feast scroll, they were Duskweaver script, intricately woven into the Chronometer-Keeper cryptogram. The twin constellations and horizons tier were not just astronomical terms, they were poetic allusions, specific phrases that, when pronounced correctly in the ancient Duskweaver tongue, created a resonance with the heart of Evum itself. The moon petal's truth wasn't just about its light, but about a specific vibrational frequency, a sonic key. The language, the Duskweaver script, you gasped, the revelation hitting you like a physical blow. Your deviation, your flaw of pursuing a different path, had unexpectedly equipped you with the unique skill vital to solving this crucial cryptogram. It wasn't just a cryptogram. It was a dual-layered lock, one layer Chronometer-Keeper, the other Duskweaver. Nerida's fingers brushed against the shimmering heart of Evam. The air crackled violently. The lumen stone flared, its light threatening to blind. The winds outside screamed, and the ground convulsed. Nerida, wait. You cried, your voice raw with urgency. You began to chant, the forgotten sounds of the Duskweavers rolling off your tongue, a melodic, guttural hum that resonated deep within the cairn. It was a complex series of syllables, a poetic invocation that harmonized with the cosmic alignment, not a command, but a resonance. Duskweaver's script, it's a song of alignment, not a direct capture. When the twin constellations kiss the horizon's tear, and the moon petal offers its truth, it means when the skies weep harmony, and the silent bloom whispers the frequency of balance, then shall the heart of time return to its cradle, not by force, but by invitation. As you spoke, the words shaping the very air around you, a soft, warm light began to emanate from your palm, the antique key you still clutched glowing faintly. The heart of Evam, instead of being drawn violently to Nerida's grasping hand, drifted slowly, gently, towards the light in your palm, its shimmering form responding to the ancient language. Nerida froze, her hand suspended in the air, her eyes wide with shock and a dawning understanding. She stared at you, then at the glowing key in your hand, then back at the heart of Evam, now slowly descending towards you. Her family members, their ritual interrupted, watched in stunned silence. The heart of Evam finally settled into a small, intricate indentation on the antique key, fitting perfectly, like a final, essential puzzle piece. As it connected, a powerful yet gentle wave of energy pulsed outward from the key, filling the cairn, pushing back against the storm's fury. The lumen stone's frantic flare subsided, replaced by a steady, serene glow. The ground stilled. The howling winds outside softened, becoming once more the whispering winds of Oakhaven, a melodic hum of restored balance. The entire story recontextualized itself in that moment. Your youthful rebellion, your flaw of disorganization that led you to pursue tangential knowledge, was not a weakness, but a strength. It was the very thing that allowed you to understand the chronometer, not just as a mechanical device, but as a living entity, interwoven with the poetic, spiritual understanding of the world that the Duskweavers had embraced. Your ancestor, perhaps foreseeing a time when traditional knowledge alone wouldn't be enough, had subtly embedded this dual cryptogram, ensuring that only a chronometer keeper with an open mind, one who dared to stray from the path, could truly unlock its final secret. You spoke the language of the ancients, Nerida whispered, her voice laced with awe, her earlier aggression completely gone. The hidden tongues of the moon petal seers. We only knew the astronomical components, the raw data, but not the soul of it. You looked at her, understanding replacing rivalry. And you, Nerida, you found the lumen stone. You deciphered the celestial path, the precise alignment. Without your dedication, without your family's commitment to finding the Whispering Falls, the heart of Evum would never have revealed itself. The immediate danger had passed. The storm was receding, the winds now a gentle caress. The moonpetal blooms, visible from the cairn's opening, were beginning to stir, their faint phosphorescent light returning. With the heart of Evum now one with the antique key, a subtle shift occurred. The key vibrated with a soft, persistent hum, guiding your hand. You knew instinctively where the true chronometer resided. It wasn't on the mantelpiece, nor hidden in the attic. It was in the oldest part of the cabin, beneath the hearth, in a concealed compartment that only revealed itself under the light of the combined key. Back at the cabin, the family, still shaken, but no longer despairing, watched as you approached the fireplace. With the now integrated key, you pressed a specific point on the hearthstone. A mechanism whirred softly, and a section of the stone floor slid aside, revealing a small, intricately carved wooden box. Inside, resting on a velvet cushion, was the clockwork chronometer itself, a masterpiece of gears, springs, and polished brass, but with a gaping, circular void at its very center. You held the antique key, the heart of Evum pulsing gently within it. With steady hands, you inserted the key into the chronometer's central void. It clicked into place with a sound that resonated through the cabin, a sound of perfect harmony, of time itself settling back into its rightful rhythm. The chronometer whirred to life, its gears turning with a silent, almost imperceptible grace. A soft, warm light emanated from its heart, spreading through the cabin, chasing away the lingering shadows, and with them, the last vestiges of the storm's oppressive presence. The family watched, stunned, as the cabin seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The air felt cleaner, lighter, imbued with a renewed sense of peace. The moonpetal blooms, visible through the window, now glowed with a vibrant, ethereal beauty, fully restored. The moonpetal blooms, Milo whispered, his face alight with joy, his goal fulfilled. They're flourishing again. Their light, it's beautiful. The rifts, though not entirely healed, had begun their arduous journey of mending. The family, witnessing the power of the chronometer and the unexpected collaboration, even with Nerida's presence in the cabin, began to see the larger picture. The feast of celestial alignment, though delayed, could now proceed, not as a desperate attempt at unity, but as a celebration of a new beginning, a testament to shared understanding. Nerida, standing a respectful distance away, met your gaze. There was no more rivalry, only a deep, unspoken respect. Her quest for the Whispering Falls could now continue, not as a threat, but as a shared endeavor. With the chronometer restored, the falls could be revealed and explored safely, their raw power contained, their beauty shared with the world as she desired, but under the watchful, balancing eye of the Chronometer-Keepers. The core misunderstanding was dissolving, replaced by a recognition of complementary truths. Her drive for revelation, your commitment to preservation. Both were necessary for the harmonious stewardship of Oakhaven and beyond. You were no longer just the aspiring chronometer keeper. You were the chronometer keeper who had dared to stray, who had found strength in deviation, and who had learned that true balance sometimes required embracing the unexpected. Old rifts wouldn't vanish overnight, but a seed of hope had been planted, nurtured by cooperation and a newfound appreciation for diverse paths. The whispering winds of Oakhaven now carried not secrets of division, but the promise of a future where tradition and innovation could, finally, move in perfect, synchronized harmony. The world, indeed, was safe, its fate secured by a combination of ancestral duty, unexpected knowledge, and the quiet courage to see an enemy as an unexpected ally.